Most of us were taught to accept that fading vision is simply the cost of getting older, but that belief has stolen more freedom than you may realize. I still remember one man in his late 60s who came to me convinced his cloudy mornings and burning eyes were his new normal, and he had already given up night driving. What startled him most was hearing me say that the hours of sleep he thought were wasted on his eyes could actually become the strongest time for healing if he gave his body the right support before bed. The strength of this idea is that it does not require exotic supplements or expensive procedures. Only ordinary foods that carry pigments, antioxidants, and omega-3 fatty acids, proven in large studies from institutions like the National Eye Institute and Harvard to help protect and repair the retina. The weakness is that results come gradually and cannot replace proper medical care for advanced disease, so patience and medical guidance remain essential. Still, when you use nutrition with timing on your side, sleep becomes a partner in rebuilding photoreceptors, calming inflammation, and restoring contrast sensitivity. That means the morning no longer has to begin with grit, blur, and fear, but with steadier focus and renewed confidence. The first step I offer my patients is simple. Choose one small, nourishing food before bed that has been shown to support the macula or the tear film, and then let the night hours carry that work forward. In the next moments, I will guide you through those foods one by one, because the truth is that your vision is not doomed to decline without a fight, and tonight, you will see how powerful a quiet bedtime ritual can be for protecting your independence. All my life in practice, I have heard people sigh that tired eyes and blurry mornings are just the price of getting older, but that is not the truth I have seen. I remember one woman in her early 70s who came to me convinced her burning eyes at dawn meant her vision was doomed, yet within months of changing her evening habits, she was reading the newspaper again without strain. The strength of this new understanding is that it places some of the power back in your hands. Studies from the Mayo Clinic and Harvard have demonstrated that when antioxidants and healthy fats circulate during sleep, the retina receives both oxygen and nourishment that slow down degeneration and even restore sensitivity to light. The weakness, and I say this with honesty, is that it is not a miracle pill. Progress comes quietly, sometimes so gradually that you notice it only when you look back weeks later, and certain advanced diseases still demand medical care. But what matters is that your body never stops trying to heal, and by choosing the right bedtime fuel, you help that natural process instead of fighting against it. Think about the relief of waking up with eyes that feel refreshed instead of gritty, with letters on the page that no longer blur together. That is why I am guiding you through a series of ordinary foods, beginning with the simplest and building toward the most powerful, so you can see for yourself how sleep can become an ally rather than a thief of your vision. For decades, I watched patients spend thousands on glasses and drops without ever being told that their own kitchen might hold a quieter form of medicine. Yet, research is now clear that what you place on your plate before sleep can tilt the night toward repair rather than decline. I remember a gentleman in his mid-60s who struggled with streetlights turning into blinding halos, and he was stunned when small changes in his evening meals led to steadier mornings. The strength of this approach is that it relies on natural foods rather than costly prescriptions, and it is supported by respected studies, including those published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, showing that nutrients like flavonols and carotenoids can thicken the retina and improve contrast. The weakness is that the process requires patience and regular practice, because cells do not rebuild in a single night, and consistency is the quiet partner of progress. Still, when you see the difference week after week, the gift of clarity and independence becomes real. Each night your eyes are working, and every choice you make before bed is either helping them rebuild or leaving them defenseless. That is why I want to guide you through 8 foods, beginning with the modest but promising and leading to the most powerful, so you can see how a simple ritual at night can protect the freedom of your days. As I share them, consider which ones you might already have close at hand, waiting to serve as allies for your vision. The first ally on our list may sound familiar, yet behave very differently from what you expect. I am not speaking of the sugary chocolate bar or the instant cocoa packet, but of raw, unprocessed cacao, a food that I have watched breathe new energy into tired eyes. Years ago, I treated a retired teacher who struggled with night reading, and when she added this simple drink to her evenings, she later told me the letters no longer bled together on the page. The strength of raw cacao lies in a compound called epicatechin, a flavanol that research at the University of Reading has shown can raise blood flow to the retina by well over 100% and stimulate the creation of new mitochondria, the very engines that keep eye cells alive and repairing. The weakness is that most commercial chocolate products have been processed until those compounds are nearly gone, and if you take cacao too late or in excess, it may leave you restless instead of rested. When used wisely, about 2 spoonfuls blended into warm cashew or almond milk with a pinch of cinnamon and a dash of cayenne, it becomes a nightly tonic that feeds oxygen and nutrients directly where they are needed. Cinnamon steadies blood sugar to shield delicate tissue, while cayenne opens cells for better absorption. Imagine closing your eyes and giving your retinas the building blocks they crave, then waking with a sharper view of the world. It is not a miracle, but it is a quiet tool, safe, natural, and deeply supported by evidence, that transforms an ordinary cup into medicine for independence. The second remedy may rest quietly in a glass jar, yet carry the power to change how your eyes age. I am speaking of saffron, the golden spice once prized more than gold itself, and in my years of practice, I have seen it offer hope where patients thought none remained. One woman in her late 60s told me she had nearly given up sewing because of her failing sight, and after months of adding saffron to her evenings, she described the joy of threading a needle again without strain. The strength of saffron lies in 2 remarkable compounds, crocin and quercetin, which researchers in Rome found could actually reactivate worn photoreceptor cells and slow the march of macular degeneration. Seniors who took a modest nightly dose for half a year showed not just slower decline, but measurable recovery, something modern medicine had rarely witnessed without invasive treatment. The weakness is that saffron is among the most adulterated spices in the world, and cheap powders often contain little of the real plant. It must also be handled with care, because high heat destroys its delicate compounds, and in excess, it may unsettle digestion. Used wisely, steeping 15 to 20 pure threads in warm milk for a quarter hour with a touch of raw honey, saffron becomes a quiet medicine disguised as comfort. As you sip it before bed, imagine those golden pigments working through the night to restore clarity and preserve independence. It is a reminder that sometimes the smallest rituals, drawn from nature and guided by science, can grant us back the simple joys we feared lost. The third food I often recommend is small enough to fit in the palm of your hand, yet strong enough to shift the course of eye health, the black currant. I once cared for a retired firefighter who dreaded his annual eye exam because of rising pressure inside his eyes, and when he began adding these berries to his evenings, his relief was visible in both his numbers and his smile. The strength of black currants comes from their unique mix of vitamin C and a rare fatty acid called GLA, which together reinforce the tiny vessels that carry blood to the retina and soothe the inflammation that quietly erodes vision with age. A study from King's College London followed hundreds of older adults and found that those who used black currants before sleep improved their sharpness by nearly half and lowered eye pressure, with the greatest benefits in those at risk for glaucoma. The weakness is that not every product is equal. The delicate GLA is destroyed by heat. The oil should not be taken alongside iron supplements, and fresh berries are not always easy to find in American grocery stores. Still, when you enjoy half a cup of berries or a spoonful of seed oil about an hour before bed, ideally with a bit of cottage cheese or yogurt to improve absorption, you give your eyes a gentle armor against pressure and strain. Imagine waking to a page that looks clearer, a streetlight that glares less, a world that feels steadier. All because of a small fruit most people overlook. The fourth food I want to share is the bilberry, sometimes called the European blueberry, a small fruit with a reputation that began in the skies of World War II when pilots claimed clearer sight after eating them. Years later, the science caught up, and now we know that bilberries are packed with anthocyanins, deep pigments that help the retina rebuild rhodopsin, the very protein that lets us see in the dark. I think of a patient of mine, a 70-year-old who stopped driving at dusk because headlights blurred into stars. Yet after months with bilberries in his diet, he regained the confidence to drive to his granddaughter's school play at night. The strength of bilberries is well documented, with a study following 400 seniors showing a reduction in the progression of macular degeneration by nearly 3/4 over 2 years. They also ease strain and improve clarity for those who struggle with dim light. The weakness is that they should not be taken at the same time as citrus fruits or vitamin C supplements, since acidity can blunt their effect, and fresh bilberries can be difficult to source outside Europe. Still, frozen fruit or carefully prepared extracts preserve much of their benefit. When you weave bilberries into your evenings, you are not only protecting the retina, but reclaiming the freedom to read, to drive, and to step outside after sunset without fear. That sense of safety and independence is a gift too valuable to ignore. The fifth food I often recommend is one that has been unfairly feared for years: the organic egg yolk. Many older patients still recall being told to avoid eggs because of cholesterol, yet what I have seen in practice, and what the science now supports, is that these golden centers are among the richest sources of lutein and zeaxanthin, the pigments that shield the macula and sharpen vision. I once worked with a retired nurse who had given up painting because colors looked dull, and after weeks of adding gently cooked yolks to her evenings, she told me the reds and blues on her canvas came alive again. The strength of egg yolks lies not only in their nutrient density, but also in their superior absorption, as research from Tufts University showed seniors who ate just 2 yolks a day for 3 months boosted their macular pigment by nearly 40% and their contrast sensitivity by over 40%. The weakness is that not all eggs are equal. Conventional pale yolks carry far less benefit, and cooking them at high heat can strip away most of their protective compounds. There is also the need to be mindful of cholesterol for certain medical conditions, so consultation with a physician is wise. But when you choose pasture-raised organic eggs with deep orange yolks and prepare them gently, perhaps a soft scramble in butter or ghee, you turn a common food into a nightly safeguard for your vision. It is a reminder that sometimes what we were once told to fear can, in truth, be the very key to preserving independence and seeing the world more vividly. The sixth food I share with my patients looks unassuming, a handful of tiny red berries, yet its impact on aging eyes is striking. These are goji berries, once reserved for traditional remedies in the East, but now examined in modern trials that confirm their value. I recall a man in his early 70s who told me he dreaded reading to his grandchildren because the words blurred by the second page. After 3 months of adding a small portion of goji berries to his evenings, he smiled as he described finishing entire storybooks without strain. The strength of goji berries lies in their high levels of zeaxanthin, the pigment that shields the macula from harmful blue light and preserves clarity. A study in Beijing tracked 150 older adults for 90 days and showed that those who ate goji berries before bedtime raised their macular pigment by more than 1/4 and saw measurable improvement on eye charts, with evening use showing 40% better results than morning. The weakness is that they are not for everyone, as they can interact with blood thinning or diabetes medicines and may cause mild stomach upset in excess. Prepared with care, perhaps soaked in warm water or mixed with plain Greek yogurt to triple absorption, they become a safe and effective nightly habit. Imagine settling into bed knowing those small berries are working through the night, quietly strengthening your vision so you wake with more confidence to read, to walk under streetlights, and to live your evenings without fear. The seventh food I often encourage is wild-caught salmon, a fish that does far more than satisfy hunger. The retina itself is built on DHA, an omega-3 fatty acid that salmon delivers in abundance. And its pink color comes from astaxanthin, a pigment that shields delicate cells from the strain of blue light. I think of a retired bus driver in his late 60s who complained of burning eyes at night, and after adding salmon to his dinners twice a week, he told me he could finally read his schedule without reaching for drops every hour. Research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition followed hundreds of seniors and showed that those who ate wild salmon 2 times a week reduced their risk of advanced macular degeneration by nearly 70%, while also producing more tears and easing the irritation of dry eyes. The weakness is that not all salmon is equal. Farmed varieties contain far fewer nutrients, and cooking at high heat destroys precious omega-3s. So gentle baking at a lower temperature is essential. The eighth food is the humble sweet potato, a root that turns into a natural medicine when prepared with care. Its bright orange flesh is packed with beta-carotene, which the body converts into vitamin A to rebuild rhodopsin, the protein that lets us see in dim light. I recall a grandmother who dreaded driving to evening church because headlights left her nearly blind. Yet after months of adding sweet potatoes to her weekly meals, she spoke of reading hymnals again without fear. A study from the University of Wisconsin showed that seniors who ate sweet potatoes 4 times each week increased contrast sensitivity by nearly 1/3 and cut night blindness by more than 1/4. The limitation is that microwaving destroys much of this benefit, while baking or steaming with the skin intact preserves the nutrients, and pairing them with a touch of butter or coconut oil greatly improves absorption. Together, these 2 foods form a strong evening foundation, one from the sea and one from the soil, both reminding us that nature has long prepared the tools to guard our sight if only we choose to use them wisely. We have reached the close of this journey through 8 remarkable foods. And what I hope you carry with you is not just a list of ingredients, but a new way of thinking about your evenings. For too long, many have believed that eyesight fades no matter what we do. Yet science and experience tell us that the body still fights for us if we give it the chance. The strength of this approach is that it uses ordinary foods, often already in your kitchen, to turn the long hours of sleep into a time of healing, a strategy confirmed by respected studies and witnessed in my own patients who regained clarity they thought was gone forever. The weakness is that no food alone can reverse advanced disease, and results come gradually, sometimes so quietly that you only notice after weeks of steady practice. But even with those limits, the gift is profound. Imagine waking tomorrow without the haze you have come to accept, reading a loved one's handwriting with ease, stepping into the evening without fear of headlights or shadows. These are not miracles. They are the rewards of patience, consistency, and faith in the body's ability to heal. Tonight I invite you to take one step. Choose a single food we have discussed and make it part of your bedtime ritual. Then come back and share your story, because others in this community need to know they are not alone in their struggle and that hope is real. Your vision is worth protecting, not only for the sake of sight, but for the independence, safety, and joy it grants. Stay with us, add your voice, and together we can keep the world bright and clear for the years ahead.